Hello everyone. So in this video I am going to show you how we can make a network request in ReactJS. Now what do I mean by network request here? So let me tell you that particular thing. Suppose you are given an API and now what you need to do is you need to fetch the data from that API and display the entire information in your ReactJS application. Okay. Now that API can be a third party API, means you are getting it from somewhere, or that API can be internal API, means that is developed by you or by your organization. Okay, and they have given to you. So now let us see how we can consume that API in our ReactJS application and how to display the data. Okay. Now see, in order to make a network request in ReactJS, we have two different ways. The first way is you can use the fetch API. Okay, so this is an internal API present in JavaScript. Basically we are getting this API from the web browsers. Okay, and we do not have to download this API. Okay, so we just need to use this fetch function and we can consume the API. Okay, we have to just pass the URL and we can consume it. And then the second approach is using Axios. Now what Axios is? Axios is a third party package which is given to us by the community, so that we can install this package in our application and we can make the network request. Okay, now let us see both of these way in a practical format. Now let me tell you one important thing about both the package, that both the fetch API and the Axios, both of them return the promise. Okay, so now in order to consume promise, again we have two different ways. The first way is you can use the then and catch syntax, and the second way is you can use the async await keyword. So again we are going to see both of these way as well. Okay, that how we can consume the promise. So now let me show you both of these way one by one. And one more thing, the API which we are going to use in this video is this fake store api.com and /product is the route. Okay, so I will be giving you the link in the description. Okay, you can use this API in your project as well. Okay, now let us go to the project folder, and in the app.js what I will do is, first of all, in the source folder I will create one folder. Okay, components. Now in this I will create one file and I will name it as fetch testing.js. So basically in this file what I will do is I will write the code related to the fetch API. Let us generate the React component. Now what I need to do, first of all let us create one variable, const URL equal to this. Okay, and in this I will copy this URL and paste it here. Now what we need to do, see, first of all let us create one function, and that function will help me to make the network request. Const fetch products equal to, I will create a arrow function. Now in this what I need to do, I need to write the fetch. Now see, fetch is a function which is present in JavaScript. Okay, now in this you have to pass one parameter, one argument, and what that argument will be, that will be this URL, because the first argument is URL. Now after this what we need to do, just press enter. Okay, but before this let me create one variable and let me log this variable in the console. Now see, when to run this function, so to run this function we need to use the use effect hook, because we know that first of all I need to mount this component into the DOM tree. Okay, then only I will be able to see the data and all the information present inside this component. So let us take out the use effect hook as well from the React and write this. So basically this use effect will take one callback function, okay, and it will take a empty array, that is the basically dependency array. So here I am leaving it empty because I only want it to run once, okay, when my component is mounted in the DOM tree. Just write the function which we have created and let us go to the application. So our application is running in the browser. Let us inspect, click the console, and wait a minute, let me check. Okay, our component is not mounted. So basically we have not imported our component here, not mounted basically. So as you can see that here it is currently showing me that promise, and that promise is in pending state. Okay, so as I told you earlier that this fetch will return promise. Now we need to consume this promise. So how I will consume this promise? First of all, let us use this dot then and dot catch syntax. So what I will do, I will remove this semicolon and I will remove this variable. Let us remove this as well. Now after writing fetch, just press enter and add dot. Then you can see 3 words will appear here. One is then second is catch, then third is finally. See, then will execute when your promise is fulfilled. Okay, means it is succeeded. Basically there are 3 states of promise: pending, fulfill and rejected. So if your promise is fulfilled, then this then block will run, and if your promise is rejected, then this catch block will run. Okay, so we need this dot then. Now this then will take a callback function. So just pass one arrow function in this. Now here what we will get, see, when you are going to work with fetch API, remember one thing, that first of all you will always get the response object. Okay, you are never going to get the data. So let us print this response object in the console and as well as add the catch. Again one callback function, that if we get any error, so that error will be handled here. Let us again print this error in the console. Now you can see here that we are getting this response object in the console. So it has so many things. One is body, then body used, headers, okay, redirected. Okay, basically now we are able to get the response object. Okay, now our promise is gone. So now what we need to do, see, now in order to access data from this response object, what you need to do, you need to chain one more then block. Okay, because we need to convert this response object into a JSON format. Okay, currently it is a response object and we need to convert it into JSON. So how we will do, let us remove this line and simply write return response object, and this response object has so many methods and properties. Okay, now we need to run one method simply, which is JSON, response object dot JSON. Now one more important thing, now see, we are returning the converted JSON. Now where we are going to handle that? So I need to chain one more dot then. Again one callback function will be there. Now the entire data will be appeared here. Simply add the data and simply write console.log data. Now see, here you can see that an array of 20 object is present here. Okay, so it means our network request is working perfectly fine. Just one important thing we need to do is, now let us store this entire data in the state and display it in the home page. So how we will store the data? Let us import the use state hook as well. Let us create one hook, use state. Now here initial value I will set as empty array. Here I will do products and set products. That's it. Now see here we are getting the data in the console. Okay, so after this just write this state updating function and pass the data which we are getting. Now what we need to do, now the entire data is stored in this state variable, so now we can easily access it. Let us add curly braces. Now write products dot map function we will use. It will take one callback function. Now in this callback function we are getting two things. First is a single product and second is the index. Okay. Now what we need to do is now simply write return and create a div, and inside this div let us create one h3 tag, and here we need to write product dot title. Okay, because each product has a title, so you can see that. Let us zoom this by 100%. Now you can see that all the product title is being rendered on our component. Okay, and you can see here in the console that we are getting one error, that each child in list should have a unique key prop. So how we can fix it? In the div section just add the key prop and pass the index. Okay, now if I refresh this entire application, then you can see that the error is gone, but we will get the data. Okay, because it is a free API, so it take a little bit of time to display the data. Okay, let us wait for a couple of seconds so that this data can be shown. Let us refresh one more time. Yeah, now you can see that our data is here and that error is also gone. So this was the first approach. Okay, using fetch, and we are consuming this promise using dot then and dot catch. So let us convert this dot then dot catch syntax into a async await syntax. Okay, so that you can have knowledge of both the ways. So now what I will do is, let us change the name fetch products 1. Okay, now here I will simply create one more function, const fetch products 2. Now see, in order to use async await, first of all we need to write async before this function. Okay, so this async keyword will make this entire function asynchronous. Okay, now see, the async await syntax is a little bit different. First of all, we will create a variable again, and I will write the fetch, and here we will simply pass the URL, and let us console.log this response object. Let us remove this, and I am going to call this fetch products 2 again in the use effect. Now you can see that again we are getting a promise of a pending state. Okay, now how we can consume this promise via async await? See, first of all make this function async. Okay, now we have this await keyword as well. Now this await keyword is used at the place where your code is a time consuming code. Okay, so we know that this fetch will return a promise, and this promise can take any amount of time. Okay, it can take 1 second, 5 millisecond, 10 second, 1 minute. Okay, I don't know. So basically this is a time consuming code for me, so I will write await keyword in front of this. Okay, now you can see that here we are again getting a response object. Okay, now how we will convert this response object into JSON? Earlier in the case of dot then we were using this return response object dot JSON, but here how we will do this? See, do not worry about this, just create one more variable with the name of data, and now what you need to do is simply write response object dot just add the JSON. But one important thing, converting this response object into JSON can also be a time consuming thing. Okay, so again try to add await in front of this statement as well. Now let me comment this and remove this response object and show you the data. Let me now refresh, and we are getting this from the dot then syntax. Let us remove this console.log, and we are getting it from the line number 25. Let us go. Now see, it means that our this syntax is working fine. Okay, but one important thing, that when we were working with the dot then dot catch, I told you that this dot then block will run when the promise will be fulfilled. Okay, and this dot catch will run whenever there will be any error or your promise will be rejected. But how we are going to handle that particular thing in this? Again, do not worry about this. Just remember one thing, that we have something known as try catch block, which we use for exception handling. So just simply cut this entire code and add a try catch block. Okay, and add all the code of making a network request in the try block. Okay, and all the error which we will get will be handled in the catch block, because that is how the exception handling works. And you can simply console.log this error. Now here we are getting the data, so I will simply call the set products update this state function, and I will pass the data in this. Now you can see that data is getting displayed via async await approach as well. Okay, so this was the first way, making a network request using fetch. Okay, now let us see the second approach as well, in which we will discuss how to make a network request using Axios, which is a third party package. So see, before start working with the Axios, first of all we need to install Axios in our application. So how we are going to install this? Just open the terminal and go to the browser and head on to the npmjs.com website. Okay, and simply search for the Axios package. Now you can see that we have got the package, and here a small description is also written that it is a promise based HTTP client. Okay, just click on this, and here is the installation part. Okay, how you can install. Here is the syntax how you can consume this, means how you can use Axios in your project. Okay, so we will simply install this npm I Axios. That's it, Axios is installed. Now let us create one more component in this Axios testing.js. Generate one function component. Now see, before working with Axios, first of all let us import Axios in our file. I have imported the Axios. Now see, making the network request process will be entirely same. Okay, there is no difference. So I will simply again copy this a little bit code portion from there. Let us import the use state and use effect as well. And what we will do is we will copy these two functions as well. Okay, and what I will do is I will modify these two functions. Okay, and from app.js let us comment this fetch testing and add the Axios testing. Now what we need to do is, see, instead of fetch you simply have to add Axios, and now Axios has some of the methods which you can use to make a network request. Okay, basically all the HTTP methods are supported here, and different methods are there to support each HTTP request. So after Axios you have to add dot and then simply add whatever the HTTP method you want to use. So here I want to use the get. I will simply add get, and that's it. The entire process will be same. Okay, just some of the things we need to remove and some of the code we need to add. Okay, so let us see now what we need to remove and what we need to add. Now first of all, let us run the use effect here. We will run the fetch product first, and let us pass the dependency array. Now see, let us remove this dot then. Okay, and first of all let us see what we will get. Let us remove this as well. Let us log the response object. Now you can see that here we are getting a different object. Okay, now this object contain the config, data, header, request, status text. Okay, so this is an object which Axios has returned, and earlier that was the object which fetch was returning. Okay, that was a response object. But what Axios help us to do is Axios automatically convert this entire thing into the JSON. Okay, means by default JSON is converted. So now we simply need to access this data property from this. You can see that this data is an array of 20 objects. Simply access this and display the data whatever you want to display. Now, so we can simply remove this response object. Okay, it is our original response which is already converted into JSON. Now simply I will call this set product, and in this I will pass this response dot data property. That's it. And now let us copy this rendering code as well from here, and we will paste it here. Now you can see that again the data is displaying perfectly. Okay, no error. So this is how you can use Axios with dot then dot catch. Okay, now let us use Axios with async await as well. Simply add Axios, add the HTTP method which you want to use. Now we got that it does not return us response object, so I can simply write response dot data. That's it, and just comment this first function and run the second function. Let us refresh this here. Now you can see that again this second approach is also working perfectly fine. Okay, so this is how you can make a network request in ReactJS. You can consume any APIs. Okay, there are a ton of free APIs present on the internet. Simply use them in your application, build some of the interesting things. Okay, so that's it for this video. I hope you like this video and stay tuned for more amazing content like this.